We know that some of you are unable to see and spend time with your families and loved ones this Christmas season, so we hope these stories bring a smile to your face and brighten your day. The night before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mom in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutter and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkle I heard on the roof the pawing and prancing of each tiny hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkle, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger alongside his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night."
All right. So I'm happy to read this to everybody, but this one's especially for my Aunt Nancy. This bear stays up for Christmas. So, the day before Christmas, snuggled on his floor, Bear sleeps soundly with a great big snore. "Dear Bear, get up," Mouse shouts in his ear. "We won't let you sleep through Christmas this year." His friends are all there, gathered in his lair, and the bear wakes up. He stands with a stretch and a great big sigh. "I hope I can make it. I do want to try." "Don't worry," squeaks Mouse. Hare says, "It's all right. We'll keep you busy all day and all night." He tries to lie down, but his friends all frown. So the bear stays up. "Come on," says Badger, "time to follow me. In the Pine Grove Glen, there's a fine Christmas tree." So they stomp through the woods and they tromp down the track. They hoist up the tree onto the bear's big back. He plods very slow, and they trudge through the snow, but the bear stays up. Back at the cave, Gopher brews mint tea, and Mole pops corn to string upon the tree. Raven and Wren bake a fresh fruit cake. The friends do their best to keep Bear awake. His shoulders start to stoop, and his eyelids droop, but the bear stays up. They hang up their stockings by warm firelight and hum Christmas songs like O Holy Night. They cuddle and sing as they wait for the sun. But soon all the voices fade to just one. A bright star glows while his good friends doze, but the bear stays up. Bear giggles and grins. He works and he raps. He bustles and bakes while everyone naps. He piles up presents under the tree, but who's at the doorway? Bear doesn't see. He toils all night until the sun rises, making his friends their Christmas surprises. Just before dawn, he lets out a yawn, but he still stays up. When Christmas arrives, so lovely and white, Bear's friends awake to a glorious sight. Presents and goodies are piled up tall. I stayed up, says Bear, just to share with you all. As his friends shout with glee, Bear lies by the tree, but he still stays up. Wren flies to the stockings and tweets out a cheer. Besides our bear's presents, Santa was here. When all gifts are opened, there's one last surprise. Badger shows Bear a quilt just his size. Bear snuggles up tight and mutters goodnight. Then Bear falls asleep. His friends tidy up and slip from the lair. They whisper, "Sweet dreams. Merry Christmas, dear Bear."
Snowman at Night. One wintry day, I made a snowman, very round and tall. The next day when I saw him, he was not the same at all. His hat had slipped, his arm drooped down, he really looked a fright. It made me start to wonder, what do snowmen do at night? I think that snowmen start to slide when it gets really dark, off the lawn and down the street right into the park. They gather in a circle while they wait for the others, sipping cups of ice-cold cocoa made by snowmen mothers. Then the snowman games begin. They line up in their places, each one anxious for his turn in the snowman races. After everyone has had a chance at racing once or twice, they go on over to the pond, do skating tricks on ice. Sometimes they start giggling, and then they act like clowns. They bump into each other till they all fall down. They gather up their snowballs, the pitcher takes his aim, and underneath the moonlit sky, they play a baseball game. No one knows just how it started, but soon it's quite a sight, with snowmen throwing snowballs in the world's best snowball fight. Then it's time for sledding. It's a wild ride down the hill. Wahoo! They yell. This is by far the biggest thrill. Finally, they're tucked out and getting sleepy, so they slowly gather up their things, and one by one they go. So if your snowman's grin is crooked, or he's lost a little height, you'll know he's just been doing what snowmen do at night. To Jay and Chris, our surreptitious snowman shifters.
Okay, I am reading Snowman at Christmas. One Christmas Eve, I made a snowman, very fat and jolly. I dressed him up in red and green and trimmed his hat with holly. I saw his arms were trembling, as if he couldn't wait. It made me start to wonder, how do snowmen celebrate? I think that while I'm snug in bed, dreaming of Christmas treats, the merry snowmen slip away and hurry through the streets. They glide down the snowy avenues with lamps and lights all aglow, the sleeping city blanketed in freshly fallen snow. They pass by toy shop windows framed with twinkling lights, pausing for a peek or two at holiday delights. The jolly snowmen gather from everywhere around for a Christmas party in the center of town. Waving to each other, they call out cheery greetings. All their friends and family so happy to be meeting. A few merry snowmen start trimming the square. Soon holly and icicles are strung everywhere. And then, reaching high for everyone to see, they hang balls of snow on the big Christmas tree. The snow children play, freeze tag or red rover, or climb in a stack till they wobble right over. The mothers lay out all kinds of cold treats, ice cream and snow cones, and dainty iced sweets. Then the dancing begins to the tune of a fiddle. All the snowmen line up and sashay down the middle. Someone says, "Hush, could that be a jingle?" Then over the hill glides the snowman Kris Kringle. He opens his sack with joy, ho ho. He pulls out their presents, each made out of snow. Santa sips his cocoa, the reindeer romp and play, and then with a whistle, they're off on their way. Such fun snowmen have, but there's still one more thing. With hearts full of joy, they hold hands and they sing. While the fiddler plays and the sweet silver bells ring, they sing songs about snow and the birth of a king. The children are sleepy and grown-ups are yawning. The snowmen go home just as Christmas is dawning. They're all back in their places when Christmas Day starts, but these folks made of snow have a glow in their hearts. Their smiles are more tender, their eyes softly shine, as the snowmen dream dreams of their Christmas time. Merry Christmas.
Okay, so I have two stories, and one is a little bit of a silly story, and then the other is not completely a Christmas story, but it's one that we like to read at Christmas at our house. So. Santa's Stuck by Rhonda Gowler Green. Toys are nestled, tree lights glow, stockings, stuffings march in a row. Santa sighs, it's time to go. Gather up his giant sack, spies a note and a Christmas snack. Boys and girls have been so kind, they left sweet treats for him to find. His suit feels rather snug. Santa shrugs a jolly shrug. One more cookie couldn't hurt. This last snack will be desserts. Santa rests his weary feet, munches on his scrumptious treat. Nibble, nibble, tasty crumb, licks his frosting from his thumbs, smacks his lips on fruitcake too, wolfs the whole thing, chomp, chomp, chew. Chocolate fudge he sneaks a piece, can't resist, he has a feast. Belly bulges, Santa stops. Uh-oh, look, a button pops. Restless reindeer, cold wind blows. Up the chimney, Santa goes. Suddenly a sound is heard, rap, tap, tap, and one wee word, help. Little ones tucked in their beds, candy canes dream in their heads. Slumber on, don't hear a peep, but dog bolts upright from his sleep. Bravely pit-pats down the stairs,
see boots kicking in the air. Santa whispers, I'm stuck tight. Dog helps push with all his might. No luck, Santa's stuck. Meanwhile, reindeer heed the plea, form a chain, then pull on 3. 1, 2, 3. Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donder, Blitzen, Rudolph too. They all heave ho as one dog pushes down below. No luck, Santa's stuck. Mama Cat wakes from her nap, hears them help and rap tap tap, sees that Santa's in a fix, calls her kittens 1 through 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, meow. Reindeer, dog, kittens, cat, pull like this, push like that. No luck, Santa's stuck. Ho, 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 a tiny mouse stirs inside his tiny house. Scampers out to lend a hand, Santa gives the go command. Push, pull, push, pull. Push, pop. Whoosh. Reindeer harness up their gear, back inside his Christmas sleigh. Santa shouts, now dash away. Then he waves and soars from sight. Merry Christmas and good night. The Tale of the Three Trees, a traditional folk tale retold by Angela Hunt. Once upon a mountaintop, 3 little trees stood and dreamed of what they wanted to become when they grew up. The first little tree looked up at the stars twinkling like diamonds above him. I want to hold treasure, he said. I want to be covered with gold and filled with precious stones. I will be the most beautiful treasure chest in the world. The second little tree looked out at the small stream trickling by on its way to the ocean. I want to be a strong... Goodness, I'm sorry. I want to be a strong sailing ship, he said. I want to travel the mighty waters and carry powerful kings. I will be the strongest ship in the world. The third little tree looked down in the valley below where busy men and busy women worked in a busy town. I don't want to leave this mountaintop at all, he said. I want to grow so tall that when people look at me, they will raise their eyes to heaven and think of God. I will be the tallest tree in the world. Years passed. The rains came, the sun shone, and the little tree grew tall. One day, 3 woodcutters climbed the mountain. The first woodcutter looked at the first tree and said, "This tree is beautiful. It is perfect for me." With the swoop of his shining axe, the first tree fell. "Now I shall be made into a beautiful chest," thought the first tree. "I shall hold wonderful treasures." The second woodcutter looked at the second tree and said, "This tree is strong. It is perfect for me." And with the swoop of his shining axe, the second tree fell. "Now I shall sail mighty waters," thought the second tree. "I shall be a strong sailing ship fit for kings." The third tree felt her heart sink when the last woodcutter looked her way. She stood straight and tall and pointed bravely to heaven. But the woodcutter never even looked up. "Any kind of tree will do for me," he muttered. and with the swoop of his shining axe, the third tree fell. The first tree rejoiced when the woodcutter brought him to the carpenter's shop. But the busy carpenter wasn't thinking about treasure chests. Instead, his work-worn hands fashioned the tree into a feed box for animals. The once beautiful tree was not covered with gold or filled with treasure. He was coated with sawdust and filled with hay for hungry farm animals. The second tree smiled when the woodcutter took him to the shipyard, but no mighty sailing ships were being made that day. Instead, the once strong tree was hammered and sawed into a simple fishing boat. Too small and too weak to sail an ocean or even a river, he was taken to a little lake. Every day, he brought in loads of dead, smelly fish. The third tree was confused when the woodcutter cut her into strong beams and left her in the lumber yard. What happened, the once tall tree wondered. All I ever wanted to do was stay on the mountaintop and point to God. Many, many days and nights passed. The three trees nearly forgot their dreams. But one night, golden starlight poured over the first tree as the young woman placed a newborn baby in her feed box. I wish I could make a cradle for him, her husband whispered. The mother squeezed his hand and smiled as the starlight shone on the smooth and sturdy wood. This manger is beautiful, she said. And suddenly, the first tree knew he was holding the greatest treasure in the world. One evening, a tired traveler and his friends crowded into an old fishing boat. The traveler fell asleep as the second tree quietly sailed out to the lake. Soon a thundering and thrashing storm arose. The little tree shuddered. He knew he did not have the strength to carry so many passengers safely through the wind and the rain. The tired man awakened. He stood forth, stretched out his hand, and said, "Peace." The storm stopped as quickly as it had begun, and suddenly the second tree knew he was carrying the King of heaven and earth. On Friday morning, the third tree was startled when her beams were yanked from the woodpile. She flinched as she was carried through an angry, jeering crowd. She shuddered when soldiers nailed a man's hands to her. She felt ugly and harsh and cruel. But on Sunday morning, when the sun rose and the earth trembled with joy beneath her, the third tree knew that God's love had changed everything. It had made the first tree beautiful. It had made the second tree strong. And every time people thought of the third tree, they would think of God. That was better than being the tallest tree in the world. Thank you for reading with us. We hope you guys have a wonderful time. And we just have one more message, and that is, Merry